Good morning, U2FP. Hey, life is a test. It is only a test. Are you ready to talk about that? What does that mean? I wish I could do the beep, like the radio does when it says, it's only a test. It's only a test. I have a little devotional I want to read to you. Before I get there, I want to let you know that my little niece, she fell getting down from the slide, or she was at a friend's house getting down on a ladder, and she fell and she separated her shoulder, and she's in so much pain. She's only 6 and she looks so cute in her little sling, but yet it's like this is really challenging her. She does not handle pain well, and it's really challenging her. Her poor mom is having to be there at her beck and call, but this girl is so popular. She's getting all kinds of little gifts and this and that. But before that all happened, before she started getting the attention, I just hurt for her so much. I still do, because she's in pain. I know that. But we all go through life challenges, don't we? Not one of us is free of pain and suffering in this life. Every one of us. And if we go and we read the Bible about all the characters in the Bible, not one of them was free of pain. Not one of them was free of sin. And they were all human, and we learned so much. I remember my kids, everybody responds so differently, right? We all respond to hardships differently, and we have to continue to build our character so that we can respond in the way we desire. But it's funny, because I had one child who would just be very sad when things would happen, get quiet and just kind of deal with it. It seemed like deal with it maybe maturely. And then another one that would just be angry, just very angry at why this would happen. So we all respond so differently. But one thing I would say to both kids is, hey, God isn't really looking at God is always helping us solve our problem, but he's not so worried about our happiness, right? He is worried about how we're going to respond to this. How are we going to respond to our challenges, right? Are we going to look at him? Are we going to come to him and say, God, get me out of this mess. Help me with this. Or help me through this pain. Help me through this suffering. Or are we just going to get mad and just create a pity party? Oh, I can be really good at a pity party. And I have to remind myself, you don't need to have a pity party. But sometimes it's hard to notice that you're having your own pity party. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Let me read this little devotional. I hope that you like it, and I hope it brings some more perspective to your life. One of my favorite posters says, life is a test. It is only a test. Had this been a real life, you would have been instructed where to go and what to do. Whenever I think of this humorous bit of wisdom, it reminds me to not take life so seriously. When you look at life and its many challenges as a test or series of tests, you begin to see each issue you face as an opportunity to grow, a chance to roll with the punches. Whether you're being bombarded with problems, responsibilities, even insurmountable hurdles, when looked at as a test, you always have a chance to succeed, and the sense of rising above that which is challenging you. If, on the other hand, you see each new issue as you face as a serious battle that must be won in order to survive, you're probably in for a very rocky journey. The only time you're likely to be happy is when everything is working out just right. And we all know how often that happens. As an experiment, see if you can apply this idea to something you are forced to deal with. Perhaps you have a difficult teenager or a demanding boss. See if you can redefine the issue you face from being a problem to being a test. Rather than struggling with your issue, see if there is something you can learn from it. Ask yourself, why is this issue in my life? What would it mean, and what would be involved to rise above it? Could I possibly look at this issue any differently? Can I see it as a test of some kind? If you give this strategy a try, you may be surprised at your changed responses. For example, I used to struggle a great deal over the issue of my perception of not having enough time. I would rush around trying to get everything done. I blamed my schedule, my family, my circumstances, and anything else I could think of for my plate. Then it dawned on me. If I wanted to be happy, my goal didn't necessarily have to be to organize my life perfectly so that I had more time, but rather to see whether I could get to the point where I felt it was okay that I couldn't get everything done that I felt I must. In other words, my real challenge was to see my struggle as a test. Seeing this issue as a test ultimately helped me to cope with one of my biggest personal frustrations. I still struggle now and then about my perceived lack of time, but less than I used to. It has become far more acceptable to me to accept things as they are. That was from Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, Richard Carlson. Hey, I agree with him. I am working all the time to really focus on God's to-do list versus mine. Really pause and pray about where I'm supposed to be. It's hard to remember, but we're in a new season. We're entering summer. That's why I put that on the front. We are entering summer, and for me, it's the most challenging time of year. For everyone else, they're so excited. But I tend to struggle the most mentally during summer. I love to do so many things. I love what summer brings. I love the warmth. I love the lake. I love getting to do a lot of outside events. And so that brings so much. But I also love to work, and I love to be with so many people. So I tend to get a little bit chaotic in my mind about trying to manage all of it. But you know what? It's all good. And like I was saying that I told my children, it's not about what's happening to us in life. It's how are we responding to what's happening in life. So how are you responding to the small stuff, to the challenges, to the hardships? Who are you looking to in the hard stuff, in the challenges? We can have peace and we can have joy. We learn that from James and we learn that from John in the Bible, several different places, that we can have peace and joy in all situations. We may not be happy all the time, but we can have peace and joy. Hey, I hope this brought you just a little bit of perspective. I hope there's one small area like me. I've got several areas that we can tweak to make better so that we don't sweat the small stuff. You know what? You were made to be abundant, so go and do just that.